Good early morning, winds, stars, and spirits. Hello. Today I am reading up on some of the lore of the Halzhaan Dynasty, which would be the dynasty that is the fourth age right before this one, and currently has a lot of bearing on what I am currently stuck doing, because apparently, as I just found from this little graffiti, there are several people that were not happy with the council being implemented at the end of the fourth age. And since we're in the fifth age, in the Braided Shore, I suppose some people would rather the Halzhaan Dynasty come back. So I decided I would go take a look for some artifacts and things. Currently in Nala Tunnel, just looking around. The Hands Union and most of the unions were stuck together, from my understanding, around the time of the Halzhaan Dynasty towards the time of the council. But for those that are unfamiliar with the history of the Braided Shore, there are 5 ages. Currently, we're in the 5th age. The first age is, I should say, accepted. Rivenleaf University to the north is still debating on if one of their professors' findings for different organizations of the ages is correct. Oh, hello, dog. Can I pet the dog? Yes. Hello, dog. Thank you. So, the Fourth Age, also known as the Age of Dynasty, named after the Halzhaan Dynasty who ruled Issa, was the consolidation of, I guess, the southern part of the Braided Shore, which... I have a map. There we go. Casa would be down here. The rest of the Braided Shore is up in this northwestern portion of the world. Currently, there's a blockade around Serum Fields, and you can't take a road from there into Casa. What does this say? If you're big, dumb, adult, keep walking. Okay, so it's right here. Yes, the ink cap mushrooms lead the way. I once read a knot that talked about the sister in the Casa sewers. And how there was supposedly a sewer queen, which I would rather not run into, but as far as I know, this is the easiest way into the city, if you can get the train out this far. Anyway, the Fourth Age had most of its consolidation around the Halzhaan Dynasty, which was started by Issa Halzhaan at the end of the Ice Hag Wars, which was after the Ice Hag was defeated by the Twilit Knight called Bodraan, If my pronunciation is wrong, I am sorry. I am not native to the Braided Shore. But, during that age, the groundwork for the councils and the unions was laid out. The first monarch, Issa, was Issa. The second was Ilmana. The third was Sila. And the fourth was Manas Halzhaan, who is also known as the Boat King and is famous for a few different battles at the end of that age. The symbol of the Halzhaans is a flaming crescent, which is interesting as there is an ability called Flaring Crescent, where you can conjure a blade through magic. I've done it before. I don't know that it has any direct ties to Casa, but I do know that it's an ability that you can get or learn if you can find someone to teach it to you. But Issa Halzhaan took over after Bodraan the Twilit Knight defeated the Frost Hag at the end of the Ice Hag War. Oh, there's
something here.
Ah, no. I would rather not fight, thank you. I did not know that there was a ghost that would pick a fight with you. I was just going to come over here and sit down, thank you. I will have to warn people that there is a ghost in the Casa graveyard that apparently wants to pick fights. But sitting down with tea, the interesting thing about the Twilit Knight is that there is no grave ever found for them, and there's no mention of them after the Cobalt Eclipse and the war that followed. You would think that since they were close with Issa, that maybe they would stay with her after the Frost Hag's war, but there's no official mention of Bodraan or his sister after the fall of the Frost Hag. And so perhaps he lost his life in battle, but there is no actual historical evidence of him after, which is strange. The Cobalt Eclipse is what... I don't know whether that's what triggered the Frost Hag War or whether that was something that the Frost Hag herself did. But it's referred to as one of the most important events in that dynasty. And it is said that when the Cobalt Eclipse loomed on the horizon, the four winds met for the first time since time began. From their union, a wind-chosen child came to be. The child was later adopted by two traders, and the spot where the winds met became a place where they could never blow again. There is a place on the map specifically known as the Windless Pavilion. I believe it's over by the Oso Canal. Let's see. Behem Tea House. Billows Sootfire Bridge. Windless Pavilion. There we are. So north of the Pale Char Mountain. Which is interesting because it's more or less in the center of the map. Regardless, there is also an interesting carving on a walnut tree disc that I saw once that is a girl kneels in front of a pavilion, the four winds hovering, a crescent blade in front of her, beckoning her to take it. The pavilion is surrounded by rich grass and flowers, while at the girl's back is a barren cliff face. The mark of the famous wood carver and historian Shimobot Billows was carved on the rim of the disc. It's one thing to note about Shimobot Billows, which simply means Shimo of or from the billows, is that he is not always the best source of information. One of the historians from this specific tea house, actually, Jiva will tell you that he is not always the most reliable. But that doesn't mean that he is not at least helpful when trying to find at least bits of the history. Some of it is fairly fantastical. Another really interesting disc that I once saw that I'll probably see if I can find it at market today, because there is the daily market, well, the weekly market in Crossings is going on today in the morning, when it's actually morning, after sunrise. Is that there's a cypress wooden disc that I've been trying to find that has an illustration of a gruesome depiction of a battlefield. Frozen corpses litter the ground, covered in frigid night. A dawning light shines in on the battlefield, led by a crescent-wielding woman flanked by legions of steadfast soldiers, and a dark night almost invisible in the shadow of the battle. The four winds have been carved, marching into battle on the side of the woman. The dawn woman and the dark knight stand opposite a terrible, grinning being with the moon at its back. This is another disc carving by Shimobot Billows. I believe there's a third carving, though I yet to remember exactly. There was a walnut and a cypress disc that I was looking for. And Shimobot Billows has done several carvings. Also, I'm not sure if some might be imitations, as there's one that's rather rude. Depiction of Sabasir. And some Askin apparently aren't fond of some of the other groups around the Braided Shore. Which is extremely short-sighted and cruel of them. But the historian still has a few, I guess, useful carvings to keep in mind. I've yet to find all of them. the yellow-robed scholar here has a few, a little bit of information on the age. I've talked with them previously. Their name is Jivaka. And there are a few places in the city you can find interesting. How would I put it? Items? I am a little hungry, so maybe I can find... Oh, well, it's not over here. But technically, we're not supposed to be able to get into Casa. Anyway, so... There's another story about Nesef grass that when the darkest hour of the Cobalt Eclipse came to be and the Frost Hag blocked out the sun, Halzhaan I, which would be Issa, sent her most loyal knight to battle the monster. Clad in his midnight armor, the Twilit Knight, together with Halzhaan, clashed with the Hag in a final decisive battle. The Frost Hag sustained many wounds in the fight, and where her unnatural blood touched the ground, cobalt grass sprouted. The grass was harvested and heated over a fire where the cobalt strands turned into a deep cinnabar and was made into tea. When drunk by Bodraan's sister, Nesef, who had been cursed by the Frost Hag's frostbitten touch, the tea filled her soul with warmth and cured her affliction. The Frost Hag was never seen in the braided shore again, but there are still spots of cobalt moss with strands of Nesef grass in areas where the battle took place. Cobalt is one of the main one of the colors of the dead and the spirit world, turning red when boiled. Cinnabar is one of the colors of life, so it's interesting that they were able to use that to create it's interesting that they were able to use that to create a tea to help. This was something I did not know. This particular bridge in front of me, called the Humble Bridge, stretches from Old Town to the Orchid District in Casa. After the first bridge was destroyed during the Lord's War, which would have been towards the... after the Cobalt Eclipse, but before Issa ended up leaving the throne, was a monument named to the crown heir Imana, who came after Issa. Nowadays, all that remains of the grand Fourth Age construction are the bases of stone pillars on the Old Town shore, and the great arch standing in the middle of the canal. The bridge was greatly damaged during the revolt, and humble wooden planks now serve as a replace the stone and metal walkway. During the Fifth Age, Arch Council Victi Malor renamed it the Humble Bridge. This was officially done to better fit the bridge's new design, but also in a not-so-subtle attempt to distance the monument from the long-gone controversial royal dynasty. The name change was met with some backlash, and to this day there is debate among Casa residents as to what to call the bridge. This is from No Flowers in Casa, also by Jivika. She's a very interesting historian. I highly recommend speaking with her if you can. Anyway, after Issa came Hilmana, as is mentioned there. Ilmana was Issa's direct daughter. And I believe she had two brothers, one of which may have been Halzhaan, who's responsible for a lot of restrictions on alcohol and substances that probably it didn't matter, but it was considered against the fighting spirit of the time. Let's see, I think I have one because I traded some things in here. Oh yes, Gulfweed being one of them. Minister Gulfweed was commonly prepared for imbibing by. This message has been edited by Honorable Minister Halzhaan as part of the Retention of Public Spirit Act. But beware, as consistent and repeated consumption may cause an observable mellowing of the mind. Firo Lang, Professor of Herbalism and Natural Medicine at Ravenleaf University. And there are some side effects for using it. However, it's not necessarily the worst thing. Oh. Hello. What are you selling? I don't, most vendors aren't out at night. You people want flowers nowadays. At this rate, my stock will dry up. The isolation and unanswered questions has cast a cobalt shadow over our daily lives. But perhaps a flower could be enough to brighten someone's day, even just a little. What do you think, Killian? I don't know. I don't think there are any particular flowers I could use. I'm more hungry than anything else. I wonder if there is... What does this say? Oh, hello. Ah, Killian. Keep your voice low and your step silent in my alleyway. Oh, I know you. Laws of the council do scare me, mostly because I don't really want to deal with the wardens, but I do think they're a little strict for no good reason. Have a look at what I offer, but keep this meeting to yourself for both our sakes. I got the... Yes, I did get the Gulfweed from you. Suspiciously grape tasting cider. Well, I don't drink, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. But I like crab. I wouldn't mind eating some crab as long as it's not going to get me sick. was going to wander around and look at some of the interesting history about the Halzhaan Dynasty, but I am kind of worried about this ghost. What are you doing in the graveyard like this? No escape? It... Ouch. That hurt. Why were you attacking people? What was the shade doing in the Casa graveyard? Backpiece with visible wear and aged backpiece dropped in the infamous Casa massacre. There are clumps of rat hair sticking to the fabric. Shade resin. Pinch of ghostly dust is a remnant of a banished shade. I know shade resin. I bring it to one of the mystics in crossings. Well, the Casa massacre is most definitely something that happened during the Halzhaan Age. I just don't know that much about that specific part of history. Could that have been a shade from the Casa massacre? That's interesting. Huh. No there. I wonder if there's a specific person this graveyard is named for. Hello, Jiva. Menace's bottom. Excuse my language, but is that what I think it is? No, surely not. Where did you come by that ring, Kalim? Looks like a genuine Gehem artifact. Oh. Totally not the actual life taker. Definitely not a cursed ring. For the ring to find its way back here to Casa, the birthplace of King Mathidus. He was the first king in the Second Age. I remember that. The winds must surely be blowing at your back. It is said that its first master, its only true master, was buried here in this city. That was many ages ago, and no one has been able to find a grave. I wonder if the winds blew you to Casa to get the ring here, or did they blow that ring into your hands so that you might seek out the city? Forgive me, I should stick to history, not prophecy. Interesting linking the Casa massacre to rat hair. There was also mention of the sewer queen and rats, I believe. But that is from a much different time. What I was going to say was the 12 labor unions of the British were also around during the Fourth Age. In addition to making the coroners, which Issa did around the Halzhaan massacre, but eventually there was a codified labor union, or several, including the Crafters Union, the Esoteric Union, which included mystics, the Free Union, which includes a lot of other people, the Hands Union, which are usually workers and wood carvers, if I remember correctly. Learners Union, Merchants, Mechanists Union, Skalds Union, Wardens Union, Waterworkers Union, and Woodshapers Union. Well, I guess the Hands Union is more individuals that repair, craft, and assist in local needs, whereas Woodshapers specifically work with carpentry. However, in addition to the unions and the coroners, Issa did several. Issa left the dynasty to Elmana. someone named Nadir Edu. Nadir appears to have wished to found an Edu dynasty, but because he refused to take a second spouse, the Edu family's claim ended after his death. Nadir is not counted as a ruler among the Age of Dynasty. Ilmana also had a brother, Hakaid. It is possible, but not confirmed, that Sila Halzhaan III is related to Ilmana through him. Hakaid is also thought to be Gel Halzhaan. Gel Halzhaan being the minister that restricted alcohol as well as dragonweed, considering it a I believe the term is pale on the not conducive to the fighting spirit of the age. Hello, fork-tongued cat, and also strange crates that I don't particularly want to deal with. That's interesting, though. I wasn't exactly looking to fight a ghost from the Casa Massacre, but I guess maybe that's what that was. However, after Ilmana and Nadir Edu, Sila Halzhaan III, there were 4 total rulers in the Halzhaan Dynasty, and as she is the 3rd, the most interesting thing that I know about Sila is, aside from there's a squid called Sweet Sila that is named after her. Oh, hello. Stop staring, Water. Can't you see I'm in the middle of a game? Yes, a game with floating cards and shades. I am... Oh, that's rude. Fine. I need tea berries in order to see ghosts anyway if I'm going to be attacked in the middle of the night by them. Sila Halzhaan married someone called Elo Al, brother of someone called Raf Al. A-E-L being the name for that family, although there are 2 dots over the E. I forget which one that's called. Oh good, there's a fireplace over here. Maybe I can sit and have some tea. But Raf was the leader of the mystics known as the Esoterim, which was the progenitors of the Esoteric Union. After Elo's marriage to Halzhaan III, Raf became her court mystic, and the Esoterim gained favor in the court. Supposedly, he performed many miracles, including the creation of the Umber Lake koi. The Umber Lake koi are fish that can help get rid of the pollution in Umber Lake, which has been polluted for a very long time. I don't remember exactly, but I think some people have surmised that the lake may have actually started to be polluted around the time of around the time that the Eldens even were around, which okay, good tea, which is interesting. Considering the Eldens did have a large factory under the burnings, but that would mean that whatever happened with that factory, the pollution traveled fairly far. But there is a few darker stories about the esoterium. But there's a disc that tells a story about the esoterium that has the imprint of an elongated salamander wrapping around itself. The Olm was the symbol of the ale house, as far as I know, which might be that salamander. But Olms have no eyes, as far as I know. The secretive mystics who banded together to research and preserve arcane mysteries and occult knowledge. The general population frowned upon the esoterium when rumors arose that they were attempting to uncover some power to rival the Sephra and even the very winds. The rumors halted when Elo, a brother of the esoterium leader, married Zyla Halzhaan. From there, it didn't take long before the esoterium were granted royal support to act in an official manner as the Esoteric Union. Umber Lake koi is a marble and umber splotched fish. This species of koi is most commonly found in the brackish waters of Umber Lake just outside of Casa. It was introduced to Umber Lake by Empress Sila Halzhaan during the Fourth Age. The species of koi was enchanted by the court mystic and brother-in-law to the Empress to eat away at the polluted waters and clean any lake that the fish was inserted into. The secrets of his enchantment have been lost to time, but the Umber Lake koi fish still diligently do their duty many generations later. The squid I spoke about, Sweet Zyla, is a tiny squid with a remarkable royal cobalt hue, said to have been discovered on the birthday of a Halzhaan princess and promptly named in her honor. Little Sila is an elusive squid with a taste rumored to be sweeter than sugar. The beautiful skin and magnificent taste has led to overfishing and near extinction. The most extravagant of noble fishers have been known to brag about using sweet Sila as bait. I did catch a sweet Sila once specifically for a Rivenleaf researcher who was looking for them. There are also some treasures from the age before the Halzhaan Age, from the Third Age, that came into possession of the Halzhaan family, including, supposedly, Talzire, a cloak that was made by Queen Theodes and passed down in the dynasties of the Third Age and ended up in Arhab in Rivenleaf. But when the Hab dynasty in Rivenleaf swore fealty to the Halzhaan dynasty in the south during the Lord's War, the cloak passed to Issa and then to Ilmana, but there's no historical depictions of Scylla with the cloak, so it stayed with Ilmana Halzhaan, maybe, since Scylla was not her direct descendant. At the end of the Halzhaan Dynasty, the last ruler, I believe his name was Manas Halzhaan, also known as the Boat King, so I'll probably refer to him as the Boat King. Doesn't have as many details about him, but his reign ended in a violent revolt led by the 12 Unions, which then established the council in Casa. So Halzhaan IV, Manas Halzhaan, there was a rise in anti-royalist sentiment. Much knowledge of the Halzhaan rulers was lost as the unions rose up against the Boat King, who seemed to tear down the Halzhaan family tomb. According to legend, what stopped the violent mobs in the end was their unwillingness to hurt several elders carrying sturdy marble staves that were protecting the tomb. There was a disbandment of the Warriors Union under Manas Halzhaan. When Manas commanded the Warriors Union to follow him, some refused and tried to stand up in protest against the forming of the councils. The attempted uprising failed, and what remained of the Warriors Union became the Wardens Union. While they still existed, the Warriors Union claimed that the Wardens Union was made up of traitors created to guard nothing but the selfish interests of the council, that it would spell the end of the monarchy. The fact that the prediction would prove correct did little to help the Warriors Union, and it is now entirely defunct. Their symbol was a single sharp crescent. There is a knot specifically from one named Amygda, who is supposed to be one of the last leaders of the Warriors Union, as far as I know. Also, in Western Harvest routes, sometimes you can come across a caravan, specifically of players, if I remember correctly, and they'll perform a play about the fate of the Wave Djinn. The Wave Djinn was a ship that was lost with all hands during a storm during the Age of Halzhaan. Legend has it that the crew was transporting an ancient stone coffin that had been found during a treasure hunting expedition on some uncharted island. It is believed that the remnants of the shipwreck can still be found somewhere on Shar Cape Coast. They can, actually. There's also a rumor that you can find the Boat King's treasure off of Scare Islet on Alkenrock Coast. But the end of the age is marked by the Pyre Festival, and there's a teacup and pin that commemorate that. The teacup is engraved with the supposed last words of the Boat King, which were "Light my pyre, watch me glow." And the Pyre Festival is held every year on the anniversary of the Boat King's defeat in remembrance of those who lost their lives that night. When night falls, small boats filled with straw and oil are set out to sea, where they are set aflame. The armada of burning boats looks like stars as they sail out toward the horizon, becoming one with the starry sky above. It's actually a touching but kind of strange story. Well, touching but sad. As there were many lives lost on both. I don't believe I've been in here before. Oh, this is not a normal outhouse. Hello. What are you all doing down here? Should you be here? Should I be here? You have not been invited here. Leave now. Okay. Fine. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know there was a gathering going on down there. Guess I will continue on my way. But yes, there are many stories specifically about the Halzhaan Dynasty that have a large impact on things going on right now. Specifically that the council is currently having problems because the Arch-Zephyr that ran the council may or may not have been killed by the head of the Esoterium, who says that he doesn't remember what happened. And it's currently being called the Casa Incident, and the coroners won't tell us what's going on. Okay, if you're busy, I'm just going to... Ah! Could you not, maybe? There are 3 of you. Okay, enough of this. Could we not maybe... Apparently not. Ah. Come on. If your buddy is down, could you please run? Why were you carrying a carpet? That makes no sense. Of course, I'm wandering around at night, and the first thing I run into is a bunch of carpet thieves. What in Zephyr's name is going on? Hey, instead, we're going to try to deliver this letter. Because one of the things I do not trust is I do not trust several of the wardens and other members of that union to be completely fair at times. Especially considering at one point when I went into Casa and I found a bunch of bandits stealing from a shop, the warden didn't seem like he was going to return the necklace that I handed over to him. So I'm a little worried. I feel understandably so by any Casa wardens or coroners I have to deal with. Especially considering, as I understand, why they would be hiding the death of the Sephir on the Casa Council, but at the same time, it seems like the Esoterium is covering up more than they wanted to. Head apprentice? There are a bunch of mystics out tonight? Have you seen any mystic apprentices nearby? Some of my junior students have snuck out somewhere. My master's ritual will take all the longer the fewer we are. I won't be head apprentice much longer if my master finds out some of them sneaked off from witnessing the ritual. It is a key part of their education. Okay. I also don't know that I like getting involved with mystics too much, especially considering the history of the Esoteric Union, although there are some fairly kind wind voice apprentices up on the up on Westwind Shores in the northwest. Oh, right, there's Graveyard, but I am not seeing any ghosts because I don't have any ability to see ghosts, which is why the shade in the Casa Graveyard is a little confusing. You can see shades without magical knots, from what I have noticed, but you cannot see ghosts. Shades being souls that were stuck in torment, and ghosts are not. At least that seems to be the case, or the difference between the two. Alright, time to deliver this letter and not to the warden in Lakatos Ring. Prisoners have a right to see their mail. At least that's something that I believe.
No.
Oh good, this warden is asleep. Hello? Is anyone there? You gotta help me. I'm innocent. They won't listen. I can explain. I can't exactly help you, but I do have mail for you. Envelope for me? I'm not supposed to accept items from outside, but that envelope does smell good. Ah, cloudberry tart, my favorite. Munch, munch. Youch, what's this? What kind of villain would hide a file inside a tart? I think I chipped a tooth. Alright, well, I would give you an idea of what to use that file for, but since you don't seem to know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. If I head back to Western Harvest Route, maybe I'll run into the play on the Wave Gin, which was the ship that went down during the Halzhaan era. And you can still... Oh, maybe I should go to Alkenrock Coast and then I can actually look at the remains of the ship. No, we'll head over to Western Harvest Route first. All right. Now, maybe if I am lucky... It's usually north of here that you can find them. I have been in at least 2 fights tonight, which is 2 fights too many, especially considering all I wanted to do was talk about the Halzhaan era and how there's some interesting history behind it, including the fate of the Wave Gin, which supposedly had cursed cargo on it. That is something that the play specifies. But it doesn't look like that's going on tonight. If you are looking for the play on the Wave Gin, the caravan sometimes parks itself around here on the map in Western Harvest Route. It's actually right across the bridge from the Nomad's Rest. See, there we go. Here's the Nomad's Rest. One other thing that I had heard, and this was from talking to one of the, I think it's apprentice, Wind Voice apprentice Evan. I'm having having a hard time remembering their names. Effie is the other Wind Voice apprentice on West Wind Shore. I remember their name. Oh, hello. Journey Rope Maker. Well met, Kalim. How is life on the road? I wonder if it can be as hard as a crafter unwilling to pay the union's rules. My parents brought me and my siblings up to be fiercely independent and proud of it. I must confess to having a built-in revulsion to adhering to other people's directives. It is a tough life and I'm trying to get by. I can see the sense of unionizing and working in lockstep with others, but I value my independence higher, so I guess I have to pay the price for that. Having unions is extremely good because it lets you bargain and set barters for goods better, but I don't have any need of any particular rope at this point. The sturdy rope looks good though, thank you. Oh, speaking of theater and something that isn't played at the traveling theater on Western Harvest Route. There's a Southern theater play that is about the alleged words of Ria Abba Ra when she was honored with the Ria Shi by Issa Halzhaan. I am not entirely sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, as there is no particular guidance on how to say it. Oh, you're traveling. I don't need another spell right now. Oh yes, and sometimes people leaving not messages on the ground is rather nice. Mostly because then I can trade them for food. Now that's expensive. But I will gladly take Jirim Bakery Jade Cake. Beautiful cake marbled with deep streaks of jade. Hold it to the sun and you will see sugar crystals gleam in the light. Oh, that sounds very tasty. Now, if I head south from here, that will get me to Alken Rock Coast. Ah, right. Ria Abba Ra was honored by Issa Halzhaan with the highest cost and honor, only given to a select few. The tale of her achievement is tied to the events of the Southern Theater during the Lord's War. It's difficult to establish what truly took place, but the tale as told by the Halzhaan family and the tale that was widely accepted during the Fourth Age goes as follows. During the Cobalt Eclipse, brave Sasa Omasarif of the Summer Foxes had embarked her army to combat the horrible evil of the Frost Hag to the northeast. However, at sea, she was betrayed by her fleet admiral Ravka, who deliberately led the army transport ships along with the queen to crash into what is now known as Point Omasarif. When Admiral Ravka returned her captured Sisa Emir to the Summer Foxes and crowned him as her puppet ruler. The relationship between the nomadic tribes of the Talif Desert and the settled people of Ofi Talif had always been strained but respectful. They were both descended from the original explorers of the Third Age, but their cultures had diverged since what and was now as foreign to each other as the Deeplanders are to the Newfoundrians. Sometimes the settled Ovi Teleferans would encroach upon the territories of the nomads, and sometimes the nomads would raid trading caravans. During these times, hostilities would brew, but other times they would trade with each other, even aid one another during droughts or famines. Mostly they avoided one another. When Revka took control of Ovitalif, she was determined to pool the desert into her own pockets and began a long and bloody subjugation of the nomads of the desert. I'm not entirely sure what or why Rhea received an honor, but Rhea Abba Ra is not Revka, as far as I understand it. But perhaps at one later point they made an alliance with Casa, which could be why they received that honor. It doesn't seem like they helped during the Lord's War, though, if the supply ships were crashed before they could land around the northeast. But it says that the honor was bestowed on Rhea for her achievements of the Southern Theater during the Lord's War, so it may have simply been a retelling of this tale, or at the very least, portrayal of it to whip up heroic sentiment during the Cobalt Eclipse, perhaps. But if we're looking for the wreck of the Wave Djinn, this would be where it is. This boat has a large seaweed-encrusted coffin, lies upended at the bottom of the wreck. The remains of what appear to be seals of some corroded metal lie snapped about the casket. shipwreck shade. Why did we not leave it underground? Shades don't seem to be able to have conversations with you like ghosts do, but they can talk. Our greed made us deaf to its ancient warnings. So whatever was sealed in the casket is now loose on the braided shore, and if the play The Fate of the Wave Djinn is to be believed, what was let loose was something called a gale mare. Mares are supposed to be the nightmares of Sephra, and I think they disappear when the Sephra awakes, at least if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, the only other rumor I have heard about the coast is that the Boat King's treasure can be found off of Sker Islet. Oh, what's this? Rubble? Oh, that's gonna take a lot to lift. Don't know that I can lift that right now. We will deal with that later. I want to... There's Sker Islet. Islet? Islet. I think that's how it's said. Hello, Omen. But I don't know of any particular treasure out here. I know that there is a ghost you can find, at least. I've heard of one. A doomed ghostly figure that, if you can help it, sometimes it bestows a gift. At least is my understanding. But perhaps we'll take a rest here for a moment before I trudge back through the water and head back to the mainland. So, time for a tea break. Be back in a few minutes. winds and spirits and stars again. I'm on Sker Islet, which is supposedly where the news criers say you can find some of the Boat King's treasure, but I've had no luck with that. So instead, we're going to go for a walk, and since I rambled about what I know about the Fourth Age, let's talk about the ridiculous theories I have about the Fourth Age during the Halzhaan Dynasty. So, assuming Issa Halzhaan is the wind-chosen child, that is in the carving done by Shimobop Billows, which is a historian and a wood carver, which I'm not 100% on because he is definitely not trustworthy in all accounts. I believe that the two merchants in the carving that I think is on the walnut disc that may or may not be depicting Issa, because again, the wind-chosen child does not necessarily mean it was her, even if there are other depictions of that seem to show the winds aiding her in battle. There is a ring that's named after two traders. It's called the Trader's Double Ring, actually. A merchant's ring, and they're supposedly two twin Sephra, and they from what I remember, they're the only Sephra that are really referred to as twins. And no Sephra are really ever referred to as having any specific family ties. Outside of these two, which I think might be the two merchants that took care of the wind-chosen child. Whether that was Issa or not is I think still up for debate. I mean, all of this is up for debate. This is just my crazy ideas. But that would indicate that Issa was raised by two Sephra. And we know, at least now, that there was an Arch Sephra on the Casa Council prior to its disbandment, but only one. Not entirely sure how else to organize my theories about this. Because the other thing that I haven't been able to find out is any other information outside of one long not message on Bodraan, the Twilit Knight. There is no, there are no, also hi little voices. Welcome to my rambling thoughts. Regardless, so if Issa Halzhaan is the wind-chosen child and the daughter of the Four Winds, there is a ghost in an outpost in Sarum Fields that refers to the Crescent Princess. And I do not know why I like to light these fires, but it's nice and calming. That might be the princess that she is referring to, which means that ghost is also specifically from the age of the Halzhaan, probably around the time of the Frost Hag, but I would have to go and double check. I don't know that ghosts particularly are fond of you asking them when they died. I feel like she might take offense to that. I don't know if the song "There Is a Ghost in New Foundry," whatever little voice on the wind is telling me this, I am, however, now not entirely sure which direction I'm going, which is always good. Right, so assuming the ghost in the watchtower in Sarum Fields is in fact talking about the Crescent Princess during the Frost Hag War, which is Issa Halzhaan, that's a big if. Then that would mean that would make sense because the vineyard in Western Harvest Root would have been shut down by Gel Halzhaan, who was around the time of Ilmana Halzhaan Tisila, which would have been Issa's daughter and then niece. Which makes sense because the vineyard, there is a ghost at the vineyard who is in love with the ghost at the watchtower, who is the guard at the watchtower. So I actually brought one of them a flower from the other, and that was what helped one of them move on a bit, I guess. So that was nice. Oh god, so I'm going back to Alkenrock Coast. I'm walking in circles. Anyway, so watchtower, Sarum Fields. It would make sense because that the guard would be from that time period, because the vineyard would have been shut down after they had left, most likely. And it seems like they may have died around the Frost Hag War, and their beloved was waiting for them at the vineyard. And if you talk to the ghost at the vineyard, they say that there may be some stock left in their cellar, which you can get into. There's a trick to get into it. That Halzhaan's men hadn't gotten to. And Halzhaan being the minister who put a lot of the restrictions on gulfweed, and which I think is now legal, it's dragonweed that isn't, and alcohol. No, feel better, little voice or spirit that needs to go. Thank you for asking questions or hovering around. Thank you for saying hello. Oh, speaking of spirits, haunted headstone? Something from beyond is reaching out through the headstone. Spiritual sensitivity is required to establish contact. I have an idea. Sometimes praying at these works. Or not. Never mind. Well, the headstone is now undisturbed, so even if I'm not feeling any better, at least the headstone is. So, Issa Halzhaan could have been the wind-chosen child raised by two traders who, in and of themselves, turned out to be Sephra. And marched into battle against the Frost Hag with the Twilit Knight and the Four Winds at her back. The Twilit Knight... I don't know much beyond a couple stories from about his sister Nesif and the grass used to cure the Frost Hag's curse, and that he fought alongside Issa. But it kind of makes you wonder if he was maybe not actually a human, but her Askin or anyone, but a spirit. He is symbolized in at least one of the carvings as a, how do you say that? A shadow? Yeah, a shadow. Specifically as Issa's shadow, which is also strange, but that could have just been how it was depicted on the carving, and not necessarily that he was her shadow. Anyway, that was my wild idea, I suppose. Though not too wild, I guess. My other guess for the wind-chosen child is someone known as the One-Eyed Merchant. Because there is a depiction of there's depictions of plays of a boy giving one eye to a Sephira, and there is a person known as the Dealer of Shades, who is also known as the One-Eyed Merchant, that will trade you cursed objects if you are not careful. And so there's a story called The Bad Pearl, which is one of the folk tales about him, about a merchant that got a cursed pearl that kept making their luck very bad, I suppose. There's another one about fig roots and how a hunter poison or used a poison on fig roots after getting a poison from a mysterious figure, and they cursed the Sephira for having bad luck hunting, and as such ended up turned into a deer for the rest of eternity. So I guess that would be my other guess at who the wind-chosen child could be. It doesn't, as is mentioned, Shimo Billows is not necessarily reliable, but the Fourth Age is a little bit more well recorded than the Third Age, which has a bit of it's still pretty folk tale-y. Oh, this is Opo's Pass. This is on the way to Sarum Fields and is one of my favorite locations. The view is gorgeous. There is also one carving around here that talks about the woodshapers and freehands union building these bridges, I believe. Both unions having come about in the Third Age, and the Warriors Union in the Third Age turning into the Wardens Union in the Fourth Age, or in the Fifth Age. both the unions came about in the Fourth Age during the Halzhaan. The Warriors Union is what changed. There we go. In fellowship with the Wood Shapers Union, the Hands, Crafters, and Merchants Union raised these bridges together. There we go. All the unions working together. That was very nice. Spare wheels for carts need courtesy of Wood Shapers of Casa, while stocks last. Aww. And they give free cart wheels. Okay, feel better. No more curse. That's nice. Sometimes there are some flowers over here that you can munch on, and if I'm remembering correctly, sometimes there are things hidden behind trees over here. I don't need a bag full of gravel, though. Either way, there still seems to be a lot of folk tales around Issa, and very little on the Twilight Night. Which is sad. I feel like there probably is a grave somewhere, unless they were in fact a spirit or a Sephra, in which case it wouldn't have made sense for there to be.
Found anything on your travels?
Oh, hello. What do you have? Rare not poem. Not from a union member. Package of Oso bread spice. Sphere of pure char. A char orb used for certain mystical rituals. An aura of magic surrounds the object, a shimmering veil of energies. That's interesting. Ah, wait, I'm getting distracted. Anyway. This would be where the... Huh. Oh. That's another one of Singer's messages. I will have to return that. Speaking of that, this is the Sarah Watchtower. And Singer, a friend of some friends that hang out in Kuro, in particular, went missing during the Casa incident because he went to Casa, and then several of his messages seemed to indicate that he saw the Grand Master of the Esoteric Union kill the Archsephra of the Council, which is not great. But we don't have any specifics about it because he's a Skald, and Skalds like to talk in riddles all the time. But if that Sephra seemed to be related to the Halzhaan family in any way, I'm not sure, but it would make sense if they were still working closely with the Esoteric Union, since the Esoteric Union has had close ties to the Halzhaan family ever since Sila Halzhaan married one of their members, or one of the founding members. One of the family members related to the founding head of the Esoteric Union. That. Oh, anyway, the ghost. Ghostly lookout. My apologies, Sam. Only authorized people may enter the watchtower. You never know when northerners will attack. Talia the lookout. Northerners might indicate that this was something to do, that this watchtower was also used during the Lord's War, so it could have been that. Either way, I don't quite have the letter that I originally had for her. So or flowers. There's a specific kind of flower. But if you help out the postmaster for a while, he has something that is for the ghosts, I guess. One of the ghosts. Forget whether it was that ghost or the ghost in the vineyard. There is a ghost in the vineyard too, though. Oh, apparently the deer wanted to use the walkway too. But every other way out of Serum Fields seems to be guarded. Those would be the coroners. This way is blocked by order of the coroners of the acting Arch Council. Please find an alternative route to travel. We have orders to stop anyone who tries to pass. By orders of the acting Arch Council of New Foundry, Billows is currently off limits to travelers from the south. Yeah, that would be interesting. Billows being where Shimo is from, but the problem with this is now we can't get there. Although I don't think he's still alive. It's also too deep to cross here. I don't know why, but you can't. It's just too deep in this area, which is strange. Anyway, that would be my rambling theory on possible identities for the Wind-Chosen Child, as well as what the Twilight Knight may have actually been, that there is no grave for him. Even if he did have a sister, it is specified that there were two, that in the Traitor's Double Ring lore, there were two Sephra merchants that took care of the Wind Chosen Child. So, it doesn't completely discount that theory, I don't think. It's wild and needs some work, but so far that's the main idea. And if you want to come find this ghost for a chat, that's where she is. Anyway, I think I am going to try to head back to town, probably. Or at the very least, maybe head to Batsaha, as I'm not terribly far away from a nomad's rest, and I can get there from here. But I think in one of my other adventures, I went and delivered the mail, so I will leave that one alone for or the ghosts alone for right now, as I don't currently have any other mail for them. So instead, let's get to a port and a slightly safer space. And safe travels to you all.